What's up, guys? Welcome into today's show. We have a loaded show for you guys, but before we get started, go ahead and name a Mavs legend down in the comments. No, that doesn't mean Dirk or Jason Terry. A random Maverick, the most obscure Mav you can find. I have one. Mine is Tim Legler, ESPN analyst Tim Legler. He played for the Mavs in the early 90s. Biggest Mavs defender in media, so shout out to Tim Legler. Seeps, you got one? Seeps goes Tyson Chandler. I love that. Tyson, always a legend with the Mavs. And without further ado, let's get into today's show. Is the OG coming back to the Mavs? Markieff Morris. According to Marc Stein, the Mavericks are quote-unquote sure to re-sign Markieff Morris. He obviously came over with Kyrie Irving in the Nets and Mavericks trade a year and a half ago, and Keefe had played an underrated part of this Mavericks team. Now, he didn't play in many games, as you can see, just 26 games played there. The stats are whatever. Still a decent three-point shooter, but what Keefe really brought to this team was the veteran leadership that they needed. When the season kind of hit a fever pitch in early March and the Mavs needed a players-only meeting, it was Keefe that spoke up, even though he's the one that doesn't play. So he absolutely holds an underrated leadership position on this team, and it sounds like the Mavericks want to bring him back. And according to Keefe himself, he said he is coming back. He also added this little note. He was responding to someone who said he wanted Keefe to be back, and he said, "I want bro to come with me." Are the Twins going to reunite? Did Markieff Morris just break some news here on Twitter? I think it would be pretty cool to get Marcus. I think he's still a decent player. He's got some left in the tank. Last year with Philadelphia and Cleveland, just 49 games played. He shot 40.3% from three, though. And then in the last couple of years, I mean, that 21-22 season with the Clippers, he was really good, 15.5 points per game. I will say this, Marcus will have to owe Luka a public apology for trying to kill him in the 2020 bubble playoffs when he tried to intentionally injure him and sprain his ankle, but that's neither here nor there. I think they would get over that pretty quick, especially given that Keefe is one of the leaders on this team and is pretty tight with Luka. And Marcus can still play a bit. Keefe obviously cooked, but it would be cool to see these guys on the same team. They obviously played at Kansas together. They played in the NBA with the Phoenix Suns together as well. So it would be interesting. And with the Mavericks having that $4.4 million part of the trade exception left, I could see them maybe using that on a Markieff Morris or on, you could use him on a veteran minimum as well. The easiest way to get this done, if they want to bring them both, is to cut AJ Lawson. Lawson has a non-guaranteed contract. His contract becomes guaranteed on January 10th, so they can cut him at any time before that without penalty. So if you wanted to sign both, you already have the one open roster spot, and then you can just cut AJ Lawson to go sign either Marcus or Markieff. But what do you guys think the Mavs will sign Marcus Morris? It sounds like they're going to sign Markieff already. It's just a matter of time before that happens. But let me know if you think the Mavs are going to sign his twin brother Marcus. Type S for sign, type P for pass down in the comment section. All right, now to a Klay Thompson sign-and-trade update. Originally, we thought this sign-and-trade was just going to be between the Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, but it turns out this is going to be some massive sign-and-trade involving like 5 different teams. Here's Keith Smith and what he had to say. If the Mavericks are able to roll the Klay Thompson acquisition into the reported 5-team trade, they should be able to acquire Thompson without having to use any of the Tim Hardaway Jr. trade exception they created in the deal with the Pistons. So essentially what happened was this. The Mavericks traded Tim Hardaway to the Pistons for Quentin Grimes. Well, Quentin Grimes went into the biannual exception for the Mavericks, so that created a $16 million trade exception, and it was widely assumed that the Mavericks were going to use that trade exception in the deal with Klay Thompson. However, them sending Josh Green to the Hornets as part of what we thought was going to be a 3-team deal is now going to be a 5-team deal. So the Mavericks may have an extra $16 million trade exception that we didn't think they had. They will have this trade exception, but it's not quite that simple. I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. No one knows what's happening with this NBA CBA, and it's ridiculous. So the Mavericks are hard capped at the first apron, and I'll explain what that means in just a moment. Their projected salary as of right now is $175 million. The first apron is $178.1. So the Mavericks can spend a max of $3.1 more million, except they have the $4.4 million exception that they can use to go sign another player. And if you're confused, believe me, I am too. The rules of the apron are crazy. So basically, the Mavericks cannot use that full $16 million trade exception because they are hard capped at the first apron. What does the first apron not allow you to do? Acquire a player in a sign and trade. Use a trade exception in general. You can't take back more money in a trade. Not allowed to sign a player waived during the regular season. That's interesting. That had a pre-existing salary of at least $12.8 million, which was the full mid-level. Allowed to use a trade exception created from a new trade or use the taxpayer mid-level. But the note there at the bottom is the most important. A team is hard capped at the first or second apron if one of those rules is violated. The Mavericks violated like all of these rules, trying to get the Klay Thompson and the Tim Hardaway trade deal done. So even though the Mavericks aren't using the exception in the Klay Thompson deal, they still can't go over the $178.1 million threshold because they violated all those rules. So they will be hard capped at the first apron this year, which means that trade exception basically will go into the void unless they find some player at the trade deadline worth $3.1 million or less that they really want to trade for, and they can just use that exception. I don't see that happening, so it sounds like this trade exception might just go by the wayside until next offseason when they have additional flexibility. But if the Mavericks make a move, we will, of course, make a video, so please be sure to subscribe today. I'm filling in for Harrison throughout the next week or so. He's out on vacation, but we'll be getting Mavs content basically every single day. If the Mavs make a move, we will absolutely have it covered, so please be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're a few hundred subs away from 30K. Go ahead and help us get there. Just a couple of more news and notes before we get on out of here. Slovenia versus Greece tomorrow in a winner-go-home game to get to the Olympics. So this is the semifinal game, and then the winner will go to the final. So you have to win 2 straight games in order to get to the Olympics. Both Luka and Giannis are expected to play in this game, so it'll be fun to watch. If you're looking to watch it, you'll have to go to Courtside 1891, which is the FIBA app that you do have to pay for, unfortunately. So otherwise, you can find some other ways to watch, if you know what I'm trying to say there. But that'll be interesting to see Luka and Giannis go at each other. And if Luka does make the Olympics, the Mavs will have 3 guys who are going to play on the Olympic roster. Luka and Slovenia, we put a little question mark there because we don't know. Dante Exum was officially named to the Australia basketball roster for the Olympics as well, so it'd be cool to see him there. Josh Green was on the Australian team as well, but he is obviously a Charlotte Hornet. And Dwight Powell, by all accounts, is going to play for Canada, so that'll be cool to see Dwight. He'll play a decent role there for Canada as well. As always, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Coop27. I'm always talking about the Mavs and what they're doing this offseason. If you want to hit me up on there, you can please do that. Look, it's an exciting time for this Dallas Mavericks basketball team. The Mavericks acquired Klay Thompson over the Lakers, who offered him more money in more years. It is a different time to be a Mavs fan right now. So if you want to follow along the ride, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Coop27.